Today I'm going to show you how I use this picture to do an illustration. I'm going to be doing an illustration of the fish hut using watercolor and ink. But to make the fish hut stand out from the background, I'm going to add in Posca paint pens. I took out a piece of watercolor paper and sketched out some basic proportions while looking at the photograph. When I was happy with the sketch, I cut the paper to size and then I taped it onto a masonite board. I decided to try out my Pilot Kakuno pen with a fine nib to do the inking. Normally I'd just use a pigment liner, but I have this pen and I like it for sketching, and I thought since I have some Noodler's ink in black, it's waterproof, I can still do the watercolor over it. What I didn't realize was that you have to actually let that ink dry for quite some time before it actually is waterproof. The best thing to do is to just do a scribble on another piece of paper, and you can use that as a test. Try the watercolor on that and make sure that the ink doesn't bleed. It's always very important to get the horizon line straight because that's what anchors the picture. I only wet the areas where I want the sky to be painted. The background frames the picture, but you don't have to paint to the corners of the page. You'll see later on that I do the same thing with the grass. I mix a little bit of white gouache in with the watercolors because the fish hut is actually white, but I don't want it to be that stark and I want it to be a little bit warmer, so I make a light gray. It looks like it might just blend in with the sky, but I'm counting on the fact that I'll be adding in some shadows and all the colors from the buoys and the flags and the things that are attached to the hut. This illustration is just for fun. It's only about 6-inch squared. Painting a larger illustration makes it easier to do the detail. But that's part of the reason why it's very important to have a rigger brush. They do very fine detail and they hold a lot of paint. I'm applying the watercolor in very thick layers, trying to get all these little things that are attached to the fish hut to pop out. But since when watercolor dries, it gets lighter, I'm not sure whether all these buoys and flags and life rings are going to really stand out. So I'll have to wait until I paint in the shadows and the rooftop to see if it really makes the hut stand out. Adding in the shadow detail and the rooftop actually helps, but it still isn't quite enough. So that's why I go to the Posca paint pens and add in some more vibrant colors. The only thing left is to make those ink lines pop again. After using paint pens and mixing a little bit of gouache in with the watercolor, it seems to have faded out the lines. I decided to use pigment markers instead of going back to the fountain pen, because the fountain pen is great for sketching, but it doesn't have a lot of fluctuation in the line width, so I might as well use the markers, which I find quicker and easier. You can support my channel by subscribing so YouTube will share my videos with more people. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you ring that bell, you'll be notified every time I post a video. Thank you for watching.